Okay, so today in this mini lesson, we're going to be talking about genetically modified organisms, GMOs, and these are being used to increase crop yields. And when we talk about GMOs, there's sort of some controversy in this topic, and as a result, that's why we read through this article, a pro-con article from Encyclopedia Britannica on should genetically modified organisms be grown. So this text sort of lets us dive into the controversy of the issue, and it also helps us to see different sides of the argument here. So through this, we're going to want to be able to synthesize an exit slip to summarize the most important information from this article we read. And we also are going to have a little bit of discussion based off of these exit slips to help us dive into the controversy in a way that is respectful of each other, but also helps us further understand the topic of GMOs and how it relates to biology and ecology and the interdependence, of organisms. So that's sort of what we're going to be doing here, and I'm going to be modeling a strategy, which is writing an exit slip, just in order that we kind of know what this is going to look like and what's expected of you as you create your own exit slip. In addition, I will be modeling how you might respond to other students. So I've got a few examples that I'll show you of potential student responses, sort of mock responses, and in these examples, I will sort of just push back and engage in a little bit of discussion with these students in a way that advances the discussion. All right, so just to briefly summarize the article, there's this pro side to genetically modified crops, and that would be the side saying, you know, they're safe to use, they improve crop yields, they are more efficient, and they help feed the world. And as a result, we need to really be pursuing these because we want to end world hunger. We want to do what's best for our environment and for our world. And GMOs, even if they're not perfect, you know, they certainly, the benefits outweigh the costs. And this is the best way to feed the world. However, some people would push back on that and say the exact opposite. You know, genetically modified crops haven't been proven necessarily to be a perfectly safe strategy. And further, some people would say that there's this potential that they actually release allergens and toxins, and that is what's causing the increase throughout these last few decades in allergies and in responses to foods that are negative. And so there's this whole idea that maybe it's not as safe as we think, and maybe it's not sustainable, it's not going to feed the world, but it's actually going to negatively affect human health and negatively affect the environment as well through increasing the use of herbicides and pesticides. So that's a little bit just of a summary of what we read, and as a result, I'm going to kind of use this information to inform my own exit slip. So I'm going to say that GMOs provide a sustainable, long-term strategy to feed the world but they may cause unintended consequences. GMOs could negatively affect people and inadvertently release toxins and allergens that are harming people. As a result, some people believe that GMOs should be produced despite their shortcomings. However, other people would disagree and say that GMOs should not be produced because they could harm people and the environment. Because they harm the environment, they could negatively affect, entire ecosystems. And we know this because this concept of interdependence in ecology, that if something affects plants, that will affect the consumers that eat the plants, and that will affect the consumers of those consumers. And so down the line, we can get these major problems where an entire ecosystem has been disrupted just by one small thing. And so that's not good, and that can be a serious problem. All right, with that, I'm going to be looking at an example student exit ticket now. And Gabe Galapagos says that genetically modified organisms safely help feed the world. They are much more efficient than traditional crops and result in higher crop yields with greater nutritional value and resource conservation. While some would argue that they have not been proven to be safe, the last 15 years of research has not identified a reason for concern regarding GMOs. If there are adverse effects to GMOs, the present and most reliable and sustainable solution, they present the most reliable and sustainable solution to reducing world hunger. All right, well, some good thoughts here from Gabe Galapagos, but maybe we can further the conversation by saying, Gabe, I agree that GMOs are a more efficient solution to feeding the world. However, have you thought about how GMOs release allergens and toxins to harm human health? Further, have you considered the large-scale effects they may have on ecosystems? And that might just be, and this is very short, brief, but a way to engage in discussion with Gabe Galapagos. And then now Suzie Salamander. Although GMOs are an efficient way to grow crops, they pose a danger to human health. Changing the genes of plants may result in the production of novel toxins and allergens that adversely affect people's health. Even though they lower the price of food, they're potentially unsafe and increase the prevalence of herbicides and pesticides. These chemicals further contribute to agricultural runoff and pollution, which are detrimental to people and the environment. All right, so this is a different perspective here from Suzie Salamander. So maybe we would say, Suzie, GMOs might contribute to negative effects on the environment, but have you considered the importance of GMOs to ending world hunger? And again, this is very short, very brief, but it's just a way to engage in a little bit of conversation. And as you can see, through this process of creating an exit slip, I've effectively summarized the main points of an article, and by having this discussion with students, we've furthered that and just thought a little deeper on how do GMOs really affect us. And so I encourage you now to try this yourself by writing your own exit ticket, and we will engage in discussion with our classmates. All right, thank you.